Well, here's an update on the scow. I've got it all planked except for where the tumble home starts. I'm gonna go ahead and put that one more board on. I'm not gonna plank any further down or up until I flip the boat over, but I plan on getting this part fiberglassed and all faired and all that stuff. Bottom paint on it totally done before I flip it over and put it on the trailer. Pretty much it's planked on the sides in 3/4 lumber and planked on the bottom in 2x4s. The reason I did, well, it's a lot of it's ripped lumber. The reason I did 2x4s is because I had a ton of them and they're short pieces. And so you can see I've got the sides, got a radius on the side here, got it somewhat roughed in. And so down here I've started filling the cracks with epoxy, or filling the gaps with epoxy. Then I'm gonna fair it off smooth, filling all the cracks and gaps and stuff with thickened epoxy. Then I'm gonna fair it all off smooth. So this is kind of roughed in. It'll need another sanding and then a coat of plain epoxy, and then I'll start putting the fiberglass on it. This is the stern side. I've got I decided to, instead of putting an inboard diesel in it, I decided to go with a motor and a well. I've did a lot of figuring, a lot of thinking about this, and I'm not 100% sure what size motor, but I'm thinking probably a 30 horsepower 4-stroke Suzuki or Mercury with an extra long shaft, and that'll have the motor cowling into the cockpit a little bit, but I'm gonna make like a box to sit over it, so that'd be a place to sit or something. I don't know about that until I get it flipped over. But the only boards I actually had to buy when I finished it up was just these few, like 13 2x4s right here to finish up planking these bottoms of these sides. So got a lot of places I gotta work on. This radius is actually more trouble than I thought it was gonna be, but what I ended up doing was setting a skill saw, and because it's curved, it's hard to cut it. So it's kind of like you got to cut each board at a time. And then I use a 7-inch 40 grit sandpaper on a grinder. The only problem with this is this grinder runs at 8,500 RPMs, and you need 4,500. You need a slower grinder, and this is only off and on. I bought this grinder, so what I'm having to do is probably not going to last long, but I have to kick it on and off, on and off, on and off, to keep it from slinging the pad off. If you let it run, it just slings the pad. It slings this pad. These pads just stick on. It slings these pads off, so it's a little bit of a pain to use, but it's way better than a little orbital sander or even a belt sander. And it's hard to find a sander or a grinder that runs at that slow of RPMs. You can see this side I haven't cut yet. I'm going to do that this morning while the boat's in the shade. But that's what it looked like before I put the radius on the sides. You can see there. The boat's not going to be perfect as far as, it's going to be kind of I'm not gonna fare this boat out exactly perfect. I'm gonna get it smooth, but you know, this side of the boat turned out a lot better than the other side. The other side I started out with, and when I was planking, as you can see, this side looks way better. And it's because I'm gonna have a lot more work on the other side than this side. And it's because I really didn't know what I was doing, bending these boards in and making them fit and all that. When I got to this side, I'd gained a lot of experience and learned a whole lot. But this boat was designed for plywood, but I built it, planked it. I'm sure that designer wouldn't approve, but what I'm going to do when I flip it over is I'm going to put intermediate frames in it. And I'm going to put a little heavier fiberglass than what's called for. And the weight on the bottom of the boat that's added, they called for 1-inch plywood, marine plywood on the bottom. Well, when I did the math, if the weight measurements online according to what the plywood would be and what the 2x4s are, is very little. It was only like 200 pounds difference. And 200 pounds on this boat with nearly 2,000 pounds of ballast really doesn't even matter. So I'll just make the ballast boxes just a hair bit smaller. But anyway, it's kind of where I am. I got the keel on, and my thoughts were that I covered this keel with tar, and my thoughts were is I was going to leave the keel with tar, and I was going to caulk this boat traditionally, but I'm not going to do that. That's not something I know how to do, and I'm going to be pulling the boat in and out of the water. And planked holes, traditionally planked holes, don't do good with that. So I'm just going to cover it all in epoxy and glass and put a little heavier glass than usual. But as you can see, I got it going on right here. So I'm gonna have to take this tar off, and I'm probably gonna put a radius on this keel too. I got to put a couple bolts in this piece on the back of the keel, which is just a 2x4 against the 4x4s and going through the hull. But that's where I'm at. But I like the motor and the wheel on my little skiff. You can see it right there. I really like that. And that's kind of what I'm going to do with this boat. But just a little update of where I'm at. And I know it's been a long time since I've posted anything about the boat, but it's been a long time since I was able to really get into it and work. And I've had a couple of days that I could, or a couple of weeks that I could work on it intermittently. I've been working on my rudder in the shop. It's so hot here that I've been working kind of in the shop a little and cooling off, and then coming outside and working a little more on the boat. You know, I'm getting a lot done that way. But I'll go in here. Let me grab my coffee, and I'll go in here and show you the show you my rudder. I put some fiberglass on it last night. I put a layer of fiberglass mat on here, and then a layer of fiberglass cloth. I think it's like 4-ounce fiberglass cloth. And so the rudder's gonna be a kick-up rudder. And anyway, it's built out of 2x6s, and then I planed them down to 1 1/4 inches. And then by the time I faired it all and everything, the center of it is about 1 inch thick, and the edges are about 1 inch. Or the center's about 1 1/4 inches, and the edges are about 1 inch. It's built a little heavy, but I'm gonna have galvanized plates here, across here, and up here. I've got galvanized plates that go on it like this, and then it'll be bolted together to keep it from ever trying to cup. And then I've got to drill some. I'm gonna take a hole saw and drill some holes, 2 6-inch holes, and fill them full of lead so that the rudder has negative buoyancy. And then there'll be a hole here, and then there'll be the cheeks coming down on both sides, and to let it kick up, and then run a tiller. So we're getting there. What I'm looking forward to is when I can turn the hull over. When I get the hull flipped over and put on a trailer, then I can finish planking the sides, figure out where I'm going to put my deck, finish planking the sides, and then build my cabin on the top. This part here is just, to me, is cool, but it gets old. So I have to keep making myself. I've got a little bit of ADHD, so I got to keep making myself work on it. It begins to be like building a house, a little monotonous. So today I'm going to start putting a radius on this side before the sun comes above those trees. Once that sun comes above those trees, you can't hardly tolerate being out here, and that'll be about 11 o'clock. So anyway, let's get busy. And so much for the update. Y'all take care.